What are you doing?
And I have been tasked with overseeing a torture.
Jailer Swift.
What can I do to help?
Tinfoil, anybody?
That looks amazing! 732.
What is that, mate? I think it's correct, so it's not 3. What the hell are you doing?
It says 15 minutes.
Yes, good.
Evans!
This is cosy, isn't it?
Boys, are you ready for a taste test and history lesson led by a guy who was regularly kicked out of Miss Bullen's Year 9 history class?
He's here for the history, I'm here for the taste test.
Wonderful. Well, let's start in the 1700s in Hamburg, Germany.
Hamburger.
I mean, that looks incredibly familiar as a burger patty.
Like a steak hash.
Served with potatoes and onions.
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes in this, we had some knocking around.
Oh, so not historically accurate.
It's still a potato, isn't it? It's got potato in the word after sweet.
Did they have sweet potatoes in Hamburg in 1700s?
Who knows, Ebbers? You're always banging on about food waste. We had sweet potatoes knocking around that needed to be used. So this, at the time, was referred to as frikadellen or buletten, which was ground beef served in either meatballs or a patty shape.
It's very tightly compressed, and interestingly, very simple seasoning. And again, if we arc back to the 1700s, I guess less is more.
100%. So Hamburg is surrounded by acres of open spaces, and grazing cattle was prevalent throughout this period. The prime cuts of the cattle went straight to the wealthy, but the cheaper cuts were taken by the lower classes, who ground them, made them into these patties, and ate them as is with potatoes and onions. So what they were trying to do was recreate the prime cuts through the offcuts that they were afforded.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's history's first reconstituted chicken nugget.
Yeah, I guess so. So this is coined the Hamburg steak, which wasn't actually named until German migrants went from Germany across to the US. This dish became more popular and therefore was rebranded the Hamburg steak. The Big Apple Etymological Dictionary first mentions the Hamburg steak in an article published on the 22nd of July in 1872 in the Evening Star, Washington, DC.
Did you read that when it came out?
No, but I remember reading about it. And I remember these are all state fairs, right? Suddenly state fairs became the place where new food innovations, not dissimilar to going to the Excel Centre now to an expo and seeing new food trends. It was the state fairs projected new food trends into the stratosphere that is now the burger.
They still do. Butter cows,
Well,
cheesecakes on sticks.
deep fried butter.
Everything on sticks. Yeah, deep fried butter. Oh my goodness. So here we begin our journey. We have the patty. Now, let's find out what happened next. Let's fast forward to 1900 to Connecticut.
Ooh.
Lift the cloche.
Yes. Right, we are on the path to the burger that we know today.
As in, minced or ground meat between bread.
Yes.
I feel like that to me is the definition of burger, which is why it's rare that a chicken burger is a burger.
It's always a sandwich.
It's usually a sandwich. It could be a burger if the chicken has been ground and reformed into a patty, but most of the time it's a chicken sandwich, not a chicken burger. Get it right!
Before you dig in, you need to cut this diagonally, which is key.
Is that because this still exists today as a dish,
Yes.
which is called a patty melt?
No.
Right.
This is the Louis Lunch OG hamburger. And the restaurant Louis Lunch is credited with creating the original hamburger. Now, with all of that said, obviously there are multiple challenges to that claim that we will get onto.
I'm going to say a large, I'm not going to specify whether that's good or bad, meat to bread ratio, and then some roasted onions, some tomatoes, what looks like cheese, and maybe mustard on the bottom, or that might just be melted cheese.
Interestingly, the cheese on the bottom.
And it's specifically tomatoes, onions, and cheese spread.
Interesting.
So have a taste. So this burger is still served exactly the same today. They still use 1989 cast iron vertical broilers and gas toasters from 1929 in order to toast the bread. The patty has 5 cuts of beef that are a secret blend. In ours, you have chuck, brisket, short rib, trimmings and mince. Always cut in half diagonally, no condiments. What do you think?
That is almost like a cheeseburger in one of its most simplest ways. Like just tomato, just onion, no sauce.
Plain white bread.
Yeah.
It is so meaty. So meaty. It's got a really good, firm chew to it because of all the different blends. But also, look at just how juicy it is again. For me, it's too much without the mustard or the gherkin.
You need some acidity.
There's no acidity. There's cheese, there's sweet onion, there's sweet ripe tomato, there's meat, and then there's white bread, which is also sweet. It's got none of the acidity that I associate with a good ketchup, mustard, gherkin, or pickle.
So according to the Library of Congress, Louis Larson invented it in 1900 after a customer in a hurry needed food to take away. He sandwiched a blend of ground steak trimmings between 2 slices of toast and sent the customer on his way. I love those folklore inventions of food stories, whether or not it's true.
I feel like every food establishment has a local regular customer who at some point or other transformed one dish on the menu.
So unlike the Hamburg steak, this version was designed for portability, a practical solution for big, busy workers in need of a quick, hearty meal, and therefore it needed to be produced en masse for profitability too. The founder said that using cheese slices took too long to melt within the burger itself, so they'd applied cheese sauce, which was already melted and in that consistency, so they could literally dollop it on, construct, here you go, off you go.
Knowing where burgers have got to now, that very much feels like the origin of the hamburger that we know and love today.
So the claims that these are the OG hamburger are contested. Charlie Nagreen claimed to have sold the first burger in Outagamie County in 1885, which was a meatball between 2 slices of bread. Oscar Weber Bilby, a cook in Oklahoma, is also credited by some from 1891. And a couple of others are said to have sold hamburgers at various county and world fairs. So through the research, multiple claims of the first here, the first ever, the first this. This made most sense as a notable option for us to draw attention to because of its assembly and kind of tied together historically with the rest of the bulk of the research. But we must say that, again, there is speculation, but you can visibly see an evolution from the Hamburg steak. Would you like to move on?
I would. I just devoured. I ate that.
I realised we might have more burgers on the way, and it didn't stop you eating the entirety of your half.
It's going to be a good day.
In today's video, we try to answer the question, how many chefs spoil the broth?
Are you ready for this?
Nope.
In this Sunday's audacious video, we take a basic stock to the best chefs in London.
No pressure.
Getting them to add just one ingredient at a time before moving on to another.
We're just gonna drop one in.
And we keep going.
That's bold.
And going.
The more you put in, the more flavour you get out.
And going.
Okay, we've stepped up again.
Until...
Oh! You don't spit it now!
we arrive at an answer.
We can only up.
Watch the whole thing unfold this Sunday at 5 p.m. on our YouTube channel.
1700, 1900.
1921. Woo! Give it a lift.
Sliders.
So these are the first fast food burger from White Castle. Still around now.
Yeah.
So they are credited as having the oldest hamburger restaurant chain in the USA and considered the first fast food outlet. White Castle was founded in 1921 in Wichita, Kansas. So have a bite, have a taste.
So the cheese has migrated to the top.
Diced onion, chopped onion, as opposed to like roast onion. Yes, I've got a pickle in it.
Thin patty.
But most importantly, A bit like in Ireland, the patties are square.
The patties are square, and the patties also have 5 holes in them. Have a bite.
Cheers.
Let me tell you about how these are made, because this is all about efficiency. So they start with a griddle or a plancha of water where they add dehydrated onions. The water then steams, and they place a square patty with 5 holes, and then cheese, and then basically both bits of bread overlapping, so that essentially the water from the onions not only rehydrates them, but it steams the entire thing, melting the cheese and giving a softer, more steamed bun feel.
I think on the inside of the buns, a very different texture to when you would toast a burger bun, which is what we generally do.
Is it soggy, or is it?
It's not soggy, but it has kind of like, everything's come together a bit more inside, whereas the outside is still quite crusty.
And
Yeah.
what I would say is from the moment we picked it up, even the bread is warm, as opposed to normally you pick up a burger, the warm stuff is inside of room temperature bun.
The reason that the onions are dehydrated is just because they're easier to store and they last longer.
Yep. Because of the onion, and maybe because of the steamed sort of element of the bun, it's again another very juicy burger compared to where we started, which was actually more like a steak in the way it cut.
I'm a big fan of the ratio of burger to bun to cheese to other fillings, the onion and the pickle in this. I'm not a fan of a big, thick burger.
I'm not either. I'd rather have 2 smash burgers
Absolutely.
that are thinner than one big chomper.
It will come to no surprise to anyone who's watched the channel previously that I
Don't
hate
eat burgers.
burger cheese.
Yeah.
It just actually puts me off. And I know it's what's required in a burger if you want to recreate, but a mouthful of that, and it just feels to me gloopy and slimy, and that's a me thing. But I like the fact that they're square. I like the onion thing, and I didn't get to it, but here we finally have a pickle, which is helping to offset the burger.
There are much better cheeses to put in burgers
I think
to
so.
create an amazing burger.
I actually
However,
agree.
to recreate the fast food element of a burger, it has to be American plastic cheese.
So interestingly, these gained massive popularity, partially down to the marketing campaign where people were encouraged to buy them by the sack because they were so cheap, and people would literally just buy piles of them.
I mean,
put them in a
20
bag,
for $1 is not bad, is it?
take them away. But White Castle were on a mission to change the public's perception of ground beef at this time, after a novel by Upton Sinclair in 1906 revealed poor sanitary practices of the meat industry. So this was another way in which they wanted to obviously increase their revenue and customer base by almost reinventing and repopularising ground beef in this form.
I would be fascinated to know how much of that maintains today, given it's a brand that still exists. Because we have had some absolutely sensational beef in the US, but the majority of the beef in fast food restaurants in the US has pretty poor food and quality standards compared to the rest of the world, especially the UK. I wonder whether White Castle, given that's where they started, are still on that train.
And the white colour that the White Castles were painted in was to give off a sense of cleanliness and sanitary practices. Time magazine declared this slider the most influential burger of all time.
Wow.
What are your final thoughts?
I think we've arrived at what anybody would look at and go, that is what I would classify as a decent fast food burger. Like, it has all of the elements. It's missing a sauce, but people disagree on what sauces should go into burgers anyway. So that is the basis of a great burger.
And to add to that, I hate sliders because I don't think they work. This, however, I think is the right size for a slider. So you actually get, to your point, the right ratios of everything involved. A lot of sliders, when you get like a trio of sliders on a menu now, they're all so pathetically small. The bread's dried out, you can't taste what's in the middle, and it's a bit gimmicky. Whereas that is a good size for a slider.
Love 3 of them. Trio of them.
Got a plateful. Would you now like to time travel 80 years into the future?
Ooh,
2001.
Or yeah, give or take. 79 years. Boys, lift the cloche as we travel to the early 2000s.
Oh, hello.
Now, obviously, I removed the accessory because it wouldn't fit under the cloche, but Jamie, would you do the honours?
Swing.
There you go. We are talking about the gourmet burger.
Now that looks unbelievably incredible. However, someone decided that they should go up.
And you...
And they are so difficult to eat when realistically what would be better is if they went out.
That is very true. I mean, gourmet burgers stereotypically served in sit-down restaurants where you do have a knife and fork and where you probably won't get as frowned upon for cutting into it. I don't know how you're going to eat this. This signifies the evolution from fast food staple towards a more premium domain.
And for that reason, it has to have things that read well on a menu. It's probably where the likes of candied bacon came in and pickled onions and excellent relishes, and it looks a pretty picture.
So this is Cush's take on a gourmet burger. Let me tell you what you have. You've got Wagyu patties stuffed with smoked scamorza, truffle brie, hot honey crispy bacon, lettuce pickles, garlic burger sauce with Dijon mustard, and then duck pate smeared on the buns.
This is now screaming out that era where street food markets are taking off. It is about excess. Early 2000s, we're still a decade ahead of epic mealtime, but I feel like it's indulgence, but carefully crafted and well sourced.
Dig in. You still
I'm gonna
got
do what I
your
always do,
serrated
Jay.
knife.
I
you
think we're going to have to cut it. The only thing I feel like it is missing is the onion rings stacked on top of the burger.
Yeah, and then a little skewer of pickles above that.
Yeah.
100%. So a famous early example of a gourmet burger is Daniel Boulud's DB burger from 1999, which had additions of things like truffle and foie gras. It sold at the time for $27, which was shocking to the general public. And if you take into consideration inflation today, that would sell for $52.
Truffle brie, like that fragrance on top of the ooziness. The duck pate is unnecessarily rich, but that's the gourmet part. You've still got the acidity of the pickle, the smoke from the cheese. It is, on paper, the perfect burger. It's just that you can't eat it.
It takes you everywhere. It really does have, I want to say everything, but actually what I really want to say is it has too much.
For you, Jamie Spafford, to say that?
Oh my goodness.
As an eating experience, it becomes tricky.
It is the antithesis. And whilst fast food continued to be popular, the gourmet burgers became less about convenience and more about premium quality, technique, indulgence, and sometimes seasonality.
I don't think burgers should be pretentious, but I think there's a risk that when you start messing around with Wagyu and truffle, do you take it too far?
I don't think Wagyu belongs in a burger, personally.
No.
I don't think
It's
it provides
too
the best
good
eating
and it has
experience.
better applications, and there are better cuts for burgers.
Yeah.
So interestingly, in the early 2000s, Wagyu beef had sort of begun its peak of popularity over this side of the world. You started seeing it being ground into patties and all sorts. Interestingly, this also kind of coincided with changing public perception on fast food. Following the release of Eric Schlosser's book, Fast Food Nation, and documentaries like Super Size Me, the perception of fast food and how bad it was for you was centre stage. And this, on the other angle, people making gourmet burgers out of premium seasonal ingredients to try and offset that messaging, I guess.
Yeah, what worries me is I'm quite full and we're not there yet.
We have probably the ultimate version of gourmet gone mad. It's spectacular in many senses of the word.
Ooh.
For our last burger, let's find out what happens when the burger goes from gourmet to Michelin star. Lift the tea towel gently.
Oh, what?
My word.
Seen this before?
No, I haven't seen this before.
No, I actually haven't.
The pickle ratio is incredible.
Ebba said he wanted pickle. Tom Kerridge from his Michelin star Coach pub has obliged.
Wow.
It contains a thick beef patty, soy and sesame pulled chicken, melted smoked cheese, dill pickle, a disc of coleslaw, all atop a sesame seed bun, and it's made with incredible precision and technique. Usually. This, of course, is Cush's recreation. He has worked in Michelin star restaurants.
What bothers me is it's another burger you can't eat. However, because each layer sounds delicious, I almost want to deconstruct it and try each bit individually.
I don't even know how you...
No, I'm just going to deconstruct it from...
Yeah, because...
Why don't you eat it like corn on the cob?
What, that way?
You said you wanted wide burgers. Flip it on its side, it is.
Yeah, but then the ingredients are still vertical.
I think the only way you can do it
You've got to cut it.
is to decapitate it, take this one off as well,
Depickle it.
and then we can go through.
Yeah.
So the patty is a combination of chuck steak and beef suet with salt.
Cheers.
It also keeps it tangy and savoury. And the patty mix is rolled into a Ballantine cling film, which is cooked sous vide in a water bath at 65 degrees for 5 hours before being chilled in ice water. It's then grilled on a plancha, then finished in the oven. The smoked cheese is added before stacking with soy and sesame pulled chicken, a hash brown, sesame mayo coleslaw, and sesame pickled cucumber.
That is extreme. And also extremely fantastically delicious.
Really?
Yeah. That
Really?
is
That's-
unbelievable.
And the only thing that makes it a burger is its definition. Because everything else is so far removed, so delicious, but that's more like corned beef in its kind of patty consistency and flavour. It's so good.
The gourmet burger from the early 2000s was all about, let's give you the most extreme, biggest flavours that we possibly can in the beef. The biggest flavour that we can possibly find in a truffle, the brie. Yeah, all of those
Layer,
kind of
layer,
burgers.
layer, layer, layer.
That is balanced. That has been thought through to go, do you know what's going to go really, really well with this type of beef is going to be a soy chicken. And that salty element is going to bounce off really well than this sweet da-da-da-da. Like, it's just been designed.
By someone who's got
Knows what they're talking
multiple Michelin stars.
Yes.
Do you want to know where Tom Kerridge got his inspiration from?
about. Japan.
The tall burgers in Scooby-Doo.
Do you know what? It's right, because the patty's got the texture of dog food.
Tom, you're obviously watching for food tips.
No, I jest, but it's so different to the way that patties are cooked that we're used to because of the sous vide, because of the way it's kind of finished. It has almost, in my mind, that almost corned beef because of the suet in it as well. The apple in the slaw brings everything else together. It's just ridiculous. And I don't want a whole one, but I'm glad I got to try each of the component parts.
But this isn't just about being a burger. It's a composed dish beneath a bun with complex elements offering fat, salt, crunch, sweetness and acidity whilst retaining an element of separation. 'Twas the brief from Coach.
It's almost like, let me make you an incredible meal and then we're going to make it look like a burger.
Yeah. Do you want to know how much this sells for?
Oh, goodness.
I reckon that's got 50 quid written all over it.
The time and the labour says maybe. Interestingly, I don't think the ingredients are necessarily that much more expensive compared to the last one. This is using cheaper cuts of meat, but it's the labour and the time that goes into making it perfect. It can't be 50, but maybe 40.
£21.50.
Oh,
Bargain.
I'd say that's really good value for that type of dish in the shape of a burger.
We started in the 1700s and we've moved all the way up to 2024. What are your takeouts?
My biggest takeout is that, in essence, the burger hasn't changed immensely over 300 years. It has had other bits tagged onto it, but the base of it still revolves around ground beef.
For me, a burger is an accessible, humble thing that puts smiles on people's faces, and I don't think it necessarily always needs to be elevated to the extremes. In height, in excessive numbers of ingredients, but it has got to work and be balanced. And I think some of the earlier ones we tasted probably did that better.
Well, there you've heard our 2 reviewers' thoughts. What do you think? Let us know down below. And if you enjoyed this history lesson, please give us a like, and we could do it with other categories of food.
I've got a good idea.
Go on.
I can't tell you.
Oh. Good chat.